On CBS Los Angeles, breaking news.
Today we're watching a police
LAPD
chase
is in pursuit of a burglary
that are in
suspect who's
pursuit.
going pretty fast. Desmond Shaw is live overhead at SkyCal with more. Des.
Yeah, Pat, pretty fast at rush hour here. This started with LAPD's Mission Division, so somewhere in the Somar or Pacoima area, we believe. It's still LAPD in pursuit, even though we are blasting along the eastbound 210 here through the La Cañada Flint Ridge area, making our way towards Pasadena. Definitely the lighter of the two sides as far as traffic volume goes right here. You can see, though, up to about 90 miles an hour. Burglary suspects here in this late model Mercedes-Benz. I believe this is an E-Class, fairly capable, certainly a luxurious, but quick car here, and they are definitely on this gas pedal. Unclear how many people are in the car. Didn't hear that yet from LAPD. Of course, here we go with the typical pursuit tent. You can see the really dark windows there, but we are flying here. Burglary suspects eastbound 210, making our way towards Pasadena, Pat.
Yeah, you know what? Your mind goes when you hear burglary suspects because of the things that have been happening in our area recently with these smash and grab robberies and those two suspects up in Irvine who were actually apprehended. So do we know where a possible burglary could have taken place, or have we heard that yet?
We have not heard that just yet. How exactly they know these suspects? They must know the vehicle. They must have, I'm guessing that they saw this vehicle fleeing the scene, and that's how they were able to put two and two together on this one. But you see some really desperate driving here, and then unfortunately, this is just not very uncommon when it comes to burglary or robbery suspects. We usually see them here really roll the dice as far as the speeds go, zigging and zagging out of lanes, cutting off cars, all kinds of activity like that. We had heard LAPD, probably because of dangerous driving earlier, they did go into tracking mode pretty quickly on this one, but then they decided to re-engage. And a lot of times when they do that, it's because, they back off trying to get this person to calm down. But then if they just continue to drive like maniacs, they decide, if they're going to just keep driving like this, then we're going to make, a serious attempt to stop them. So they were back in pursuit. We saw them there, and here you go. They're not that far back. It's really difficult for them to keep up here as well without endangering people. They don't want to zig and zag through traffic the way that this person is, but they are trying their best to keep up. They have an LAPD helicopter overhead as well. As we can see now, up to 105 miles an hour now. So dangerous here on this eastbound 210.
Unbelievable. I shouldn't say unbelievable. We've seen this before, and we're going to bring in Mike Rogers at the desk now. Mike, you have some more information?
I do, Pat. Yeah, so I was just listening to the CHP radios because LAPD is talking about getting CHP involved, and so they were giving some of that information to the California Highway Patrol. This apparently was a residential burglary, so we know it happened at a home, not a business, and they also believe that there are 3 people inside. Now, CHP did want to clarify if weapons were involved in this, and I did not hear a response to that question, so it seems like something that LAPD may still be kind of looking at, but at least we know that it is a residential burglary. The LAPD believes there are 3 suspects inside. Now, the other interesting thing here is there's a helicopter with Desmond that's low, that's at about 1,400 feet. That's an LAPD helicopter. Now, I also noticed that there was a second helicopter much higher than that first helicopter. So it kind of was indicative of maybe a surveillance type thing. We've seen them do that before. LAPD calls them Idaho ships. They're Idaho helicopters is their call sign. And they'll get really high and they'll be able to surveil people. And then they'll try to get officers to maybe take them into custody. So total speculation on if that's exactly what happened here. But kind of when you see that one helicopter really high and then the other one kind of low, it kind of indicates that a little bit. So we'll see if that time will tell if that's actually what the case was here. But again, residential burglary suspects, they think there are 3 people in the car.
All right, they're still on eastbound 210. I'm wondering, I guess, Desmond, we haven't seen them try to take an exit, certainly since we've been on the air.
Whoa.
Wow, look at this.
Wow. That's a sheriff's.
Pretty brazen. They just passed the sheriff's vehicle.
Yeah.
And we've got LAPD behind them. And who knows when the CHP could possibly join in. But that was a pretty bold move there.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So, okay, we're making that transition, it looks like, from the 210 north of the Rose Bowl to the section here that goes east. So bear with us as we go through these tunnels right here. They're going to come out right over here. I'm actually really surprised at just how uncongested that transition ramp was, because that ramp is really notorious for backing up. I thought for sure they were going to hit a bottleneck there, but, as often happens with these pursuit suspects, not only do they have those tinted windows, those, but they just seem to get really, really lucky with traffic. We'll see if that luck continues here as we get off.
As you can see, the driver, as I've been listening now of what they're saying for about 5 minutes or so at this point, that driver is reaching speeds at about 80 to 90 miles an hour. That's a newer model, older model, 2008 C300 sports sedan from Mercedes-Benz.
They are right there in very close pursuit here. They have not shown any interest in wanting to let this one go.
And we have seen this driver make some pretty, hasty moves there, going in and out of traffic. At one point, I thought they got really close in between two vehicles.
Now he's speeding at about 104 miles an hour.
Speeds over 100.
And now you see,
what we're looking at here.
They're looking at here. The news helicopters are following that vehicle, and the police helicopters are going into tracking mode. That started as a burglary.
That they really did want to try to get this person in custody. It's interesting how they make those decisions
out of the neighborhood area.
Do tracking
It
mode,
started as a
for
police
that very same
pursuit.
reason, because they're driving so
There's a LAPD when that driver, that vehicle passed by, and the LAPD cop car starting to pick up the chase.
Burglary suspects in this vehicle,
And we don't know. It's only three burglary suspects in the vehicle of that Mercedes-Benz, of that
C-Class. Absolutely.
Now he's speeding at about 90 miles an hour.
Is kind of a double-edged sword. There's no easy decisions that they make. You go into tracking mode and try to get this person to calm down, and then they can still drive crazy, and then you're giving them some distance. And if they get out and run into a parking structure or something, they have a much higher probability of getting away. But if you decide to continue to stay engaged, there's definitely a major public safety element. So I think the judgment is, well, if we're going into tracking mode and they're still driving crazy, then we may as well actually try to pursue them, because they're getting the worst of both worlds if they're in tracking and if the person's still driving really crazy like that. So
they're really crazy like that. And now you see, he's speeding up, avoiding those congested traffic.
From this section, kind of on and off through the 605, that kind of choke point. We'll see if the driver decides to. We've seen him drive on the right-hand shoulder just before we came to air, and not hesitate to do that. Let's see if they do that. Indeed, they do. Come right over the last second before the off-ramp there, and now on the right-hand shoulder, with all the slow traffic, you got this guy going 75 miles an hour. Let's see if the LAPD decides if they're going to stick with this. Look at all of the debris, all the dirt getting kicked up here. Liable to get a flat tire if they hit nails or any kind of junk that might be there on the right-hand shoulder. So this is the most dangerous stunt that we've seen.
Or the curb.
So, and Pat and Des, I just wanted to jump in here. A couple of things are happening right now. CHP is going to take over. They're getting their units in place. The sergeant at CHP,
at about 69, 70 miles an hour.
Altadena office wants to make sure that they have at least 2 or 3 units in place before they make LAPD back out. The other interesting thing, Pat, that kind of goes to what I was talking about earlier, that they may have been surveilling the suspect. CHP is saying we also need LAPD's unmarked units to get out of this as well. So LAPD apparently has patrol vehicles, marked patrol vehicles like you see right here, as well as unmarked vehicles involved in this, which again leads me to believe this was some type of surveillance operation prior to the pursuit that then led to this pursuit.
Well, this is pretty, as you said, once CHP
speeding
gets
at about
involved, that's
55,
It's them or not at all. Right, so that's what they're trying to get situated right now. They want to make sure they have enough units. We're also running into this issue that we've seen time and again, where these guys are going so fast
slowing down at 20 miles an hour to avoid traffic. When the CHP officers comes and gets involved, they're going to take the lead and follow the pursuit, and that's it.
Of the LAPD, which is in the north end of the valley.
And you know what? Now that it's slowing down tremendously.
Slowing down tremendously.
I would think that could possibly make it better for law enforcement when they
reach these
carpool
lane. The suspect is driving.
Trying to make a decision, make some changes.
And it at least allows CHP to catch up.
They're going to allow the CHP to catch up.
The whole time, CHP is playing this catch-up game where they're trying to get in place, and when this guy's going 110 miles an hour, it makes it harder for CHP to get themselves situated to take it over, because it's much better for CHP to have this pursuit, because as we've talked about so many times,
speed
he could
at
go
about
from here to the top of
110
the
miles
state
an hour.
and still be chased by CHP.
Just
That's
15
right.
minutes
So it's
ago.
much better, and LAPD for sure wants
see
that,
that
because now you have
LAPD wants
officers
for
that
sure
are
the
nowhere
suspect
near their actual area
is driving
dealing with this chase. So they really want CHP to take it over. They've asked for them to
very
do that.
recklessly.
CHP is trying to get in place.
You know what, Desmond? Is it possible that
CHP
you can
tries
maybe
to
look
get him in
ahead now
place.
because the
Not get him
traffic
in
has
place.
died down a little bit, or at
Is
least
going
the
to try to
speeds?
get in place
Anyway, just wanted
to
to
follow
possibly
the
see what we're
pursuit
looking at here.
and stay behind that vehicle.
Well, it
And
looks
that
kind of steady.
vehicle slows down at about 40 miles
I think
an hour.
we're going to
At
see
about
kind of this
40,
what we traffic
45
reporters might call
miles an
kind of a
hour.
choppy pattern, kind
Or
of
maybe do
on
a
and off
35
slowing from
miles,
this point through the
35 miles
605.
an
Really,
hour
really
if they do a pit
normal
maneuver.
for this time
They could bring
of
it to
the
an
day
end.
as traffic's kind of starting to break apart for the
Unless
evening.
traffic is
Going to be
kind
some
of
slow spots here and there, and that's what can be really dangerous because the suspect's going to see wide open traffic, slam on that gas pedal, try to get to 100 miles an hour, but then
trying to pick up speeds at about 100 miles an
All
hour.
right, we lost Desmond's picture there for just a moment. Mike, let's pick up what Desmond was saying.
Yeah, I was talking about the traffic as well, and I was just kind of looking at our next traffic maps, and it is going to be heavy all the way kind of through the 605, as you mentioned. And it looks like, oh, there's this picture back, Pat, as we're kind of, going through this choppy traffic, as Des talked about.
Des, you back with us?
Yes, back with you here.
I'm going to give away this incredible $4,000. Wait, no, not this one. This incredible $4,000 piano for free. This piano is stunning. It's small enough to fit into any apartment, and it sounds beautiful. So, how do you get this piano? Well, it's super easy. I'm presenting a free live piano masterclass this Sunday where I'll teach you all the shortcuts to learn piano fast.
Okay, we're probably going to have some, maybe, hits intermittently.
Yeah, he's right up against the mountains there, and it kind of interferes with our signal a little bit when we're that close to the mountain on the 210 freeway, so we're working on that. But yeah, as P now trying to take this over from the LAPD, and it kind of, Pat, makes sense why they didn't really want to give it up, because this was somebody that they were surveilling during Fullerton to see if we've got any aircraft launching out of Fullerton so far, and we don't yet. That doesn't mean that won't happen, but we still have the LAPD helicopter. Two of them are still overhead, and they're calling this pursuit for those units on the ground. CHP is trying to get themselves in place, and we have his live picture back.
All right, and Desmond, do we have you back with us?
Yes, we do. Sometimes we have some difficulties when we're kind of up against the San Gabriel Mountains, but here we go on the eastbound 210. I was kind of wondering because, we have seen it a couple of times in recent memory of maybe LAPD with some heavy traffic, maybe they would think about a pit maneuver or something on the freeway, but I don't think so because you see that these vehicles do not have the push bars on the front, so I can't imagine that we would see, a pit maneuver on the freeway, and always a dicey maneuver in the handful of times that we have seen it, just because you could very easily push this vehicle into somebody else's vehicle, and then that's going to be a whole separate expensive issue for LAPD to bring this one to an end. So as we are making our way through the Arcadia area and Monrovia, it's just kind of this loosening pattern on the gas, then on the brakes, these little pockets where you come to a complete stop, and then 50 feet later you're able to hit the gas pedal again. So it's going to be this on and off pattern through the 605, probably to about Azusa. That's usually where things begin to loosen up if the suspect decides to go that far. And we have, covered a pretty decent distance now. This began in the Somar-Pacoima area, LAPD's mission. We heard about, the first place we heard about this was off the 210 at Osborne Street, so near Lakeview Terrace. And we've just been on the 210 the entire time. No desire to get off the freeway, and LAPD, no desire to give this one up until they can get CHP in place.
Okay, and Mike, do you have more information on that? Because my next question is, why aren't they in place now?
Well, right, and I'm listening to that. And so two things. My colleagues on the desk got some information. This actually started at Polk and Fenton, Fenton Avenue and Polk Street in the north part of the valley. It's kind of north of the 210. If you know where all of you UCLA Medical Center is, it's almost kind of near that, maybe a mile or so away. As your question about where is CHP, they're still trying to get in position because this guy's been going so fast. He's kind of bouncing in and out of their offices, right? So, we have the freeway, so you can travel through a CHP office area very quickly. So you have the Altadena units that were trying to catch up, and then on the other side, you have the Baldwin Park units that are now trying to wait for for him at an exit. So they're trying to put themselves in place to be able to take it over. But the other, wrench in this is that because they probably have some information that we don't, CHP does not want to get involved with only one unit. They want to wait until there are multiple CHP units together to chase it. Because again, it's not a situation where you can mix and match CHP and LAPD because CHP doesn't play that way.
No.
So it's
all CHP or nothing.
Exactly. So they're waiting for the CHP units to get enough of them together to be able to take it over.
All right. Well, Desmond, considering he seems to be, he's been committed to this, to the middle lane for most of the time, and that's basically about all he can do because there's traffic on either side. And also interesting to me that they have not tried to make an exit off the freeway onto surface streets. Of course, we have no idea right now in terms of where this driver or where this car actually came from or where they could be going. Sometimes we try to make a measure of if they have the address, if law enforcement knows that, and say it started in a particular area, they're returning to the area because they're familiar with that. But we just don't know at this time, do we, guys? We just know that it started around Polk and Renton, and now we are here.
Coming through Duarte.
Upper End, coming up on Duarte. So that's a long way away. But we also know that the burglary suspects, this was a residential burglary, not a business.
Yeah, correct, residential. And Pat, if Mike in the control room, if we can come out to my computer here, I just kind of want to show you, Pat, we were talking about the aircraft. This is a law enforcement helicopter. This is a law enforcement helicopter. This is a law enforcement helicopter. And we've got CHP that just took off out of Fullerton. So
the fixed wing.
It's actually a helicopter. They're not putting their fixed wing up just yet. They're putting their helicopter up. But so, our question was, do they have eyes on it? And they have a lot of eyes on it. And this is the helicopter, Pat, that I was telling you about that was doing the orbits up here. You can see his trail right here. All these yellow circles is where he was. And his altitude was pretty high. He was up between 4,000 and 5,000 feet, which is kind of what led me to believe that they may be doing surveillance. So as you can see, though, we have a lot of aircraft now following this chase.
Well, Desmond, take us through how long you've been over this, because when we first came to you, I mean, this guy, I say guy, was driving at just really high speeds, up to 100 miles and more. And now, for the last 10 to almost 15 minutes, we've been seeing these very low speeds because the freeway has been pretty congested.
Fixed wing helicopter is not putting up just yet.
Yeah, fortunately, not taking as many risks as they were. We're still seeing some zinging and zagging, getting into the center divider when they have to, over to the right-hand shoulder when they have to. And you'll notice, LAPD still went up there. So when we had that section there back where we were leaving Pasadena, and they cut away from the Madre exit to continue on the right-hand shoulder. And when we, zoom back out, see LAPD was still with them. So I'm guessing, LAPD must have gone on the right-hand shoulder to stick with them as well. So hopefully the suspect at least realizing that, those kinds of dangerous tactics are not going to work to evade law enforcement. When I say that, and then they go back right onto the right-hand shoulder. Again, I'm kind of wondering, too, if this vehicle may be equipped with run flats, because a lot of these higher-end luxury vehicles tend to be, which, could also complicate things if they were to think about a spike strip or anything like that. We have, even during rush hour traffic, we have seen some really good spike strip attempts in the past. That may be something that they're thinking, but if that is the case, and this vehicle is equipped with those kind of really, expensive tires, then that's going to be an issue. We haven't heard anything about a spike strip attempt at this point, but all those eyes from the ground and the air, and here we go now. Speaking from the ground, it looks like this is now officially CHP's pursuit. Here they are, and you can see, they do have all the CHP vehicles have those push bars there in the front.
5 minutes ago, not 5 minutes ago.
My understanding is that all CHP officers are also PIT certified, so we've seen them do it before. Not saying that they're going to do it this time, but certainly have to wonder if that's one way that they may consider while they're in traffic, pulling equipment over to try to immobilize this vehicle. We'll see what the strategy is going to be, or if they're just going to stick on this with all those eyes from the ground.
They could do a
and
spike
as we said, CHP is everywhere. They're all across the state, so they can always even change units if this guy continues. If they let him, I say let him continue to go further.
And they can get back to that. They can continue to go further.
Freeway coming up, possibly.
Another freeway coming up. We don't know.
Possibility?
He's on the westbound.
Well, they're in the carpool lane.
He's in the carpool lane.
Not making any
you're right, and there's
effort to get over.
there's no carpool connectors from the 210 to any of the other freeways. We passed the 605. Next will be the 57 over by the Glendora curve. That'll be still about 6 or so miles ahead of us here. Still got some time and still some traffic congestion before we get to that, and then otherwise they'll continue on the 210 headed towards San Bernardino County. So we'll just have to see what the suspect decides to do, but they seem to be pretty content to just be sticking with this 210 freeway. Are they headed, or do they live in the Inland Empire? Is that where they're headed, thinking that they can get out and run somewhere that they know better than the police? I mean, we have to imagine that the police have a pretty good idea of where this car is registered if it was the vehicle that, alerted them and started this whole pursuit in the first place. So I don't think that's going to work for those suspects. We just, and there's times too where we see really crazy pursuits and then all of a sudden they just decide to pull over and give up. So, hopefully that's how this one is going to end, especially after all the wild driving we've seen. We'll just see how this one plays out. And again, we believe 3 people in the vehicle as well. Maybe they're all talking it over, trying to come up with some kind of strategy on how they're going to get out of this. But the odds definitely not in their favor.
And what's interesting too, you just said it, Desmond. We were talking about maybe going getting off the freeway, or if they actually have a plan to travel to somewhere that they're familiar with, to possibly, we've seen this before, get out and run all 3 of them, try to disperse and make it more difficult for law enforcement to apprehend. But let's just remember, this was a burglary that took place at Polk and Renton, and it makes you, we don't know if that's where this started.
That's where they, that's where they tried to stop the vehicle, right?
Where the burglary took place, but we know it was residential. And, if looking at this, you might want to think, well, maybe they knew who they were burglarizing, because if that's the case, this is a long way away from where they are now.
Only one
if
thing
they're traveling to somewhere that they're familiar with.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's very hard to tell if are they just trying to get out of the city and hope they get lucky, or do they, have a location that they're going to? And, Pat, I was just kind of thinking about it here, because I'm looking, so an LAPD helicopter came and relieved the other LAPD helicopter, so we're kind of on our third LAPD helicopter that's been involved in this, but we've seen pursuits that get out here, and LAPD starts to have an issue with their radios, because they're not designed to really be in this area. We are way far away from the LA city limits here, and so we've listened to it before on pursuits where all of a sudden they can't hear each other, they're having trouble communicating with their dispatcher, they're trying to find a mutual aid frequency with the sheriff, and I've actually heard watch commanders cancel pursuits like that before because they're worried about officer safety. If something happens and the radios are not working where they're at, then they'll cancel the chase. So we kind of got CHP to take this over, and then probably in the nick of time here, because if they started losing radio communications, I'm curious to know if the watch commander would have let them continue to chase it. Now, of course, you have the helicopters overhead, they would have continued to chase it forever, but we probably wouldn't see this full-blown pursuit right now if they have lost communications.
Again, I keep thinking about the distance here. This started in the, Pacoimas, Sylmar area?
Yeah, north of Sylmar a little bit. Yeah.
And where are we now?
Sylmar area.
Desmond, we're in the East San Gabriel Valley. Are we past Duarte? I know they were approaching Duarte at one point.
That driver was approaching that area at
well
one
past
point.
Duarte now. We are in the city of Azusa here as we're making our way through Azusa Avenue. The next will be into Glendora and Laverne and Claremont and the Upland area if they continue. So we're going to start to head through all these small little, lovely little towns along the Foothill Freeway, along the 210 from Azusa all the way over, making our way into San Bernardino County. It seems to be the MO for this suspect here, who's just been keeping it to the same freeway the entire time. And again, with 3 people in the car, because we've certainly seen it in the past, they have to think that they're strategizing something. Where exactly are they headed? Maybe they're looking something up on their cell phone, some area where they think that they can lose the police, or headed to a friend's house, or somewhere where they can blend in, a shopping center. So many things, where we've seen suspects running into shopping centers, Walmarts, Costco's, those sorts of places. The longer this drags on, the longer it makes me think that.
And the thing too, they're not driving at speeds of 100 miles per hour, pretty much keeping to the speed limit there on the freeway. So again, I'm going to go with this in terms of trying to look up where they're going to go. You're going to continue to follow this pursuit on Channel 9 and our streaming channel, CBS News Los Angeles.
You can see he's picking up speeds at about 80 miles an hour.
Is next.
And you see that.
All right, breaking news. News. We're live on KCAL and we're streaming on CBS Los Angeles, CBS News Los Angeles. We are following a pursuit of burglary suspects. At least 3 people seen in this vehicle here. This started in the Pacoima-Sylmar area, and we are now in Azusa and beyond. It started out with LAPD chasing these people, and actually undercover vehicles at first, unmarked vehicles, and then LAPD marked cars, then the CHP took over. And as we're at now, Desmond, we're going to let you pick this up. It looks like we're picking up speeds again.
And now this pursuit
I just
been
saw
going on for the last
where it's going back
10 or
down now,
15
but I'm going to let you
minutes
pick
or
up
so.
coverage from here.
You see the driver speeding up 86
overall,
miles
Pat, I
an
would
hour.
say things are maybe a little bit relatively more calm than they have been earlier, certainly since we saw the beginnings of the chase when this person was up to 115 miles an hour and cutting across all lanes of the freeway between Lafayette, Flight Ridge, and Pasadena, and along the right-hand shoulder in the center divider when they had to kind of just spin in the carpool lane.
He's in the carpool
You'll still
lane.
see the speeds getting
this
kind
whole
of up and
time.
down, or as our speedometer adjusts. We're actually pretty close to the speed limit right now, and just kind of hugging the carpool lane. So definitely more calm compared to what we saw earlier. Still, obviously, refusing to give up these burglary suspects that began with LAPD's mission division in the north end of the San Fernando Valley out of Sylmar has long since been taken over by CHP as we hit another little pocket of traffic as we get ready to cross the congestion with the 57 freeway. So we're going to be passing the 57, now continuing through San Dimas and Laverne as we make our way towards San Bernardino.
He makes his way towards the county area.
Law enforcement actually tracking this vehicle at one time and then really going all in and trying to get them to come to a stop.
And trying to get that vehicle to come to a stop.
There are at least, 4 law enforcement helicopters overhead?
4 law
and just
enforcement
now,
helicopters
CHP's
overhead.
helicopter took over. So at one point we had, let me see. So we still have that LAPD helicopter that I was telling you about there. It's called the Idaho helicopter. It's the one that kind of they use for investigatory work. That one is still overhead. And then the other LAPD helicopter pulled off, and now we've got the CHP helicopter overhead. You see it right here. They're the ones that are calling it for the ground units. This is the other LAPD helicopter that was with it. But, as we're looking at the map here, Pat, we're only a couple of exits away now from San Bernardino County, and I already hear San Bernardino CHP now talking about taking it over. So just like we talked about, it can run anywhere in the state, and CHP is ready for you.
That's interesting, too, guys, how they will actually are able to come in and not only have enough information to get their own units in place, but it doesn't matter really which jurisdiction it is.
Right, and it's interesting because sometimes there's borderline calls that we deal with here on the desk, and we'll call LA CHP, and they tell us no, it's San Bernardino, and they all share. It's called a CAD system. I think it's computer automated dispatch or computer aided dispatch, and that can share across all of the offices. So it's not even like you have to have a dispatcher typing in all the information. It just shares across the whole agency. And they can kind of just see everything, and it's very helpful for them to kind of read up on it, if you will, before it gets into their area.
Before it gets into their area.
We've also seen incidents, if you will, Mike and Desmond, where the CHP, the same unit, they can be on this for a long period of time and then decide, maybe we do need a fresh pair of eyes. And we've also seen instances where it could be, 45 minutes, and then you've got another CHP.
It can go on for maybe
I think we
forever.
all 3 of us did that pursuit.
It can go on for like 3 hours or maybe 50
and those guys were
minutes,
just like every 10 minutes it was a new CHP car. So, when they go this fast through these different offices, it takes up almost no time for these officers that are involved because they swap out so quickly.
And Desmond, you were describing these CHP vehicles. They have the apparatus where if they wanted to do a pit maneuver, they're certainly equipped to do that.
Excuse me.
That's correct. Yeah, all of the CHP cruisers all have push bars because a lot of the time these officers will be out there responding to crashes or disabled vehicles, and they need to have that capability to be able to push vehicles off the freeway or out of lanes if they're busted up or immobilized. And so that's the primary reason I believe why they all have those push bars, but also it can be used in a pursuit to initiate a pit maneuver if necessary. I believe that they are all pit certified.
And they are
I think they still have to get
certified.
permission from their sergeant to do that. They can't just go up and pit anybody just because they see the opportunity to do that. Of course, they still have to follow the chain of command. But of course, now that we are up to freeway speeds, and I believe we're going to be through certainly the worst of the traffic that we're seeing here on the 210, we're not going to see that at highway speeds. If that was going to happen, it was going to be back in that rush hour traffic. It's still a very, very rare thing. I've only seen it, I think, 3 or 4 times ever happen on the freeway, and that was all at extremely low speeds, heavy traffic, or when a vehicle was going 20 miles an hour with flat tires. So not going to be in the offing now at this point. Now, if they decide to take an off ramp, then that could be a good opportunity as they get to the bottom of that off ramp. Sometimes we see the officers come in there,
or he could transition to another freeway
to the back of the bumper and spin that vehicle around,
or
maybe they'll want to start thinking about spike strips or something like that. But opportunities definitely kind of limited as we've been on the freeway the whole time. Haven't heard any talk about spike strips or anything to this point.
Yeah, and for them to do spike strips, I mean, they have to be able to be close enough to the vehicle, right? I mean, it's not as if this guy has been hugging the middle of the road
at 80 miles an hour, hugging the
for
road
quite some time now. But because those spike strips are only so long or so wide, so that certainly would have to. Those things would have to be in place in terms of the placement of the car, right, for them to even do a spike strip.
Yeah, and I think, Des, correct me if I'm wrong, the times that we've seen them use spike strips are when either the freeway was much more empty than it is now.
By the time they use it, when they use spike strips, the freeway was much emptier.
Eliminate some of that traffic because, even if you get somebody ahead, trying to toss it in front of the suspect vehicle,
try to toss it in front of the suspect
is going to be nearly impossible.
It's going to be nearly impossible.
I don't know how long this freeway is, but at least 4 lanes, maybe 5.
It's been 4 lanes, 5 lanes.
One to go across all 5 lanes.
He picks up speed at about 100 miles an hour.
So
they will start flying. They will start flying by fast.
Because they certainly wouldn't do. You talked about doing a pit maneuver.
They wouldn't certainly.
I thought traffic might have been slowing down a bit again, but. Interesting thing too. We are used to you, Desmond, describing what you're seeing. We haven't been able to see inside this vehicle at all because of the tinted windows. So there's that. We can't see if the driver is moving around or any of those things. We have been able to do in a lot of different pursuits, and we really got to base some of our commentary on what we're seeing happening inside the vehicle. But it's very difficult to do that here.
It's very difficult to do that here on the freeway while they do a pit maneuver.
There are 3 people in this car.
And there are 3 people in that car.
Yeah, I did see what looked to be
out there like joyriding. They could be doing like a race car track the rest of the evening.
Did see someone that was wearing a tank top that was sitting, and they were sitting quite still, not fidgeting around or anything like that. We did briefly get a look at that for a time, and then we believe that there's someone in the rear seat as well on this. And so if this is just going to continue, then you wonder how much gas is in the tank. This is I think this may actually be a C class. I had said an E class. I'm not a Mercedes expert. The sedans all look kind of similar to me, but regardless, you're going to get some decent gas mileage out of this car. Certainly, if they had a full tank, then they could easily make it to Arizona. But they were driving pretty crazy there, where they were probably getting some single-digit gas mileage numbers early in the pursuit when we were on the 210 around, locking out a flare ridge up to 115 miles an hour, and then slamming on the brakes and on the gas pedal again. But now we're just kind of cruising along. I mean, you could maybe even have the cruise control on at this point, just sticking in the carpool lane. There's been no one in front of them. They've been going between 65 and 85 miles an hour.
5 minutes or so.
And so, what is the strategy?
What is the strategy at this point? That driver.
Pat and Des, I was just kind of listening to the radio traffic because, again, we're getting to that situation where we're moving over to San Bernardino, so they're relaying certain pieces of information. The vehicle apparently is registered out of the city of San Gabriel, which we obviously passed a long time ago. But maybe when they initially got on that 210 freeway, they were going to make a beeline for wherever they live in San Gabriel, but realized that LAPD wasn't going to back off them.
In and out of
so now they're in this situation where they just kind of kept going east, and here we are. And then the other thing, Pat, I just heard the CHP asked for their inland division, which is in San Bernardino, to bring in their air support. So it sounds like the CHP airship that's over it may want to swap out with the other one. Interestingly enough, there is already a CHP fixed wing.
And there is already a CHP helicopter fixed wing.
And we're headed that way. So we'll see if they swap out the helicopter with the fixed wing.
They swap out the helicopter to go into surveillance mode or tracking mode.
They know where this vehicle is registered, and so far we haven't heard that this was a stolen vehicle.
Right, and again, that's what I was going to say next. Is I haven't heard any mention of, they call it 10851, of it being stolen,
when they
which
do
obviously gives them a great clue of who
walkie-talkie
might be in the car. But again, if we're dealing with a situation where
they're dealing with a situation time after time,
before this thing started,
time and day,
LAPD probably also knows who they are. LAPD has probably also already identified them.
LAPD is probably also identifying those
is just getting them to stop.
three suspects inside the vehicle. Windows are tinted.
For CHP,
they don't know how many. We don't know how many people. As I said, 3 people inside that car.
Not driving as reckless, even though
not
speeds
driving
have
as
picked
reckless.
up. It's still going. You know, a lot of people drive 80 miles an hour.
The driver is speeding at about 85.
Let's be pretty real about that.
Well, now he's passing on the shoulder.
87 miles an hour. He was reaching speeds at about 80 miles an hour just about 2 or 3 minutes ago.
Well, this is one of those sections, I think, of the 210
one
where
of those
it goes
sections
from
about the 210 freeway, speeding at about 82 miles an hour to avoid congested traffic again. And now,
the 57 and the 15, where it's
you could take the 57 or the 15.
all the way
it's
through.
not related to the carpool lane. He's on the California 210 westbound.
Pockets of traffic, and
He's
that's
on
what
the
we're dealing
210
with
westbound
right
freeway.
Now
Now he's speeding at about 82 miles an hour.
This is kind of dangerous to get on.
And that is a dangerous.
The carpool lane. You can see even the carpool lane kind of slow.
Carpool lane kind of slow.
And so, 85 miles an hour when everyone else is going, 30 or 40, definitely pretty dangerous here. I think the traffic
about
will
90
end
miles an
completely
hour.
by the time we get past the 15. That we'll see if they are trying to maybe make it towards the 15 in the Golden Pass or San Diego, or if they're just going to stick to the left side of the freeway, then they're just going to head to San Bernardino and beyond. I'm just thinking that these suspects are probably, at this point, maybe just buying time. Maybe they know the inevitable, or if they can't decide on anything to do, that we've seen this a lot of times too, where they just want to run out the clock. As long as they can keep this going, that's less time that they're going to be behind bars.
They've been on the chase on their own time now.
Possibility. So 3 people believed to be in the car going through some kind of dodgy traffic here at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah,
about 80
it's
miles an
different
hour.
when you're going 80 and everybody else is going way less than you are. It's one thing when everybody is going around the same speed, even if it's 80 miles per hour.
85 miles an hour.
Vehicle has picked up speed.
Speeding up 89 miles, 89 miles an hour, 90 miles
on the freeway.
Speeding up 89 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour.
As to what they're thinking
91 miles an hour.
The biggest probable possibility here is that, where are they going to go?
Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? They can't even to make up their mind.
Probably notice
at
that
this point. Maybe
there's law enforcement
they're lost
overhead.
or they're joyriding.
So
basically,
I don't know if cornered is the right word to use at this particular time, but they really have nowhere to go unless they keep running this out on the freeway. And
what
even
is
if
wrong
they make
with
an
that?
exit,
Suspects.
they've got to know that they're still not
stop right now.
This pursuit.
And he's going to try to avoid congested
so it's just a waiting game, really, to see what will happen if they run out of gas. If they make
run
an
out
exit,
of gas,
look at that move,
or that tire became.
That was. Hadn't seen them do anything like that in quite some time. Just kind of a sudden little maneuver, but look, there's CHP
right behind,
right there.
Right there.
Yeah, I mean. If they are sticking to the same freeway, I will say
they're sticking to the same
they are obviously very professional in how they will do spike strip. They could certainly have the opportunity to throw a spike strip out there if they wanted. It would be complicated. It could certainly be a little bit on the danger. Oh, and look at that. I say it, and there it was. There was the attempt right there. So that was why the traffic was slow. So that was what Mike was talking about earlier. They did run a traffic break back there. That's what was causing that traffic. And the officer was there in the center divider because the suspect had been sticking to the carpool lane that entire time. So they tried to do it right there. That's the first serious attempt we've seen to bring this to an end. Unfortunately, not successful. The suspect was privy to it, and they dodged there to the right at the last minute.
Well, you've got a good eye, Desmond, because as fast as you said it, I was trying to see it for myself. Hopefully, we can re-rack that and show our viewers what you saw. So there was a spike strip attempt. I noticed the vehicle moving And I
they
guess it was
noticed the
moving out of the way of
vehicle
the spike
moving.
strip. I just thought it was trying to get through some of the other traffic.
And
Well, and what was kind of interesting, we were like, as I looked at that one, it looked to be a little bit different than the ones LAPD uses. If you ever have seen the LAPD ones, they're a black strip that's got some spikes on it. This one looked like one that may be able to stretch further. LAPDs are only about the size of one lane.
Yeah.
This one looked like it was a metal one that can kind of extend further out, but that officer looked like he kind of had trouble because, of course, there are cars in the area. You have to do it at just the right second. This guy obviously saw what was going on and went around it. It's a really tough situation to try to deploy a spike strip on a freeway when there's
a spike strip on the freeway.
I wonder what they're thinking. I mean, if they know if the CHP was willing to do something like that, they're not going to give up.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a suspect that is not aware that spike strips exist or whatever, the first time you see it, now you're going to be aware that that's something that they will try to do.
Yeah, they have that in their wheelhouse.
Try to do
and could possibly try it again. So what are we looking at, Desmond? They're still behind this guy, obviously.
They're still behind that suspect.
Yeah, we'll widen out and show you here. There's actually another CHP.
There's a CHP
SUV.
coming to get involved.
We got a cruiser here and an SUV. Looks like they're going to get involved, and you could see how well CHP especially coordinates all of these efforts. We'll see if they try another spike strip or something like that. And you have to wonder now if that's kind of panicking the suspect because now they really realize that CHP means business on letting this go. Maybe they're not interested in just seeing how far the suspect's going to drive, and try to wait until they run out of gas or something. CHP making a really serious attempt to end this one right there. They may try again if they think that they're able to do that. You see how much coordination was required in that. There was at least 3 different cruisers that were involved to try to make something like that happen. So we'll see if they slow down traffic and try again. We are, in San Bernardino County now as we make our way into Ontario. And as we've said many times, as we have, witnessed from so many chases, things definitely a little bit different out here in the Inland Empire. We see that the law enforcement can use some more aggressive tactics if they feel that this is, going to bring something to an end more quickly without, dragging something out, kind of lengthening the time that the public could be endangered in this. So that's what, makes me think we may see something else like that in the near future to bring this one to an end.
Well, Desmond, we'd like to re-rack the actual spike strip if we can show our viewers. There we go. Okay, because that was so surprising to me. There it is, right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
There it is.
You saw it got tangled up a little bit.
It just goes straight.
Yeah, he wasn't able to get a clean shot out of there.
Was trying to do a spike strip to flatten that suspect's tires.
There was that attempt.
Now he was
and again, as we've been
trying to avoid it because it was a congested traffic. Now he's speeding at about 95 miles an hour. And the news van was right there earlier on, just moments ago.
And meanwhile, Pat, I'm listening to some of the radio traffic here. CHP doesn't ever want to get caught off guard in this, it sounds like. The airship that's overhead is already saying, hey, we're good on fuel now, but somebody needs to be ready to replace us. Whether it's another CHP helicopter, 40 King, which is the San Bernardino Sheriff's helicopters, have already volunteered to come and take it over as well. So the CHP helicopter said, well, not yet, because we've still got fuel, so let's wait till we get a little closer and then swap out to
they get a little bit closer. Crossing under the 15 freeway eastbound.
There are no signals of giving up from them. They're
now
coordinating to make sure that
97
everyone
miles
stays
an hour.
fresh. I just heard all the Baldwin Park units drop out. These are all Ranch Cucamonga units that are in pursuit now.
95 miles an hour.
Be in San Bernardino area.
Those guys about 92 miles an hour.
Okay, Mike, we want to replay that spike strip again. We're going to put it in some slow motion. See on the right of your screen, there he is.
The news van was right there.
Tangled. He sees it. And
that spike strip was right there. He avoided it.
A good attempt.
It was a good attempt.
You got to give it to him. I mean, it's got to be a last-minute throw. It can't be something that's kind of set out there because of all the other cars. Oh, we're getting off the freeway?
Now he's getting off the freeway. No.
Yeah, that's the beach carpool lane exit, one of the few
continue on to eastbound 210 freeway.
Dedicated carpool exit. It looks like
it's going to be a carpool exit. No, he was going to take he was going to take the freeway on-ramp, off-ramp. He decides to stay on to 210 eastbound freeway, and now, whatever, it was in slow motion, it was on the news because the driver was picking up speed at about 80 90 miles an hour.
Looks like things are going to open up for the
Things
suspect,
are
so
going up
probably
and
not a
up.
spike strip attempt.
And now they could do something different, a spike strip attempt, or they'd rather do a pit maneuver.
On the shoulder so much of this pursuit now, kind of surprised that the suspect hasn't kind of spike stripped themselves with some
He's
kind
at
of
about
debris or
78
something
miles
like
an
that,
hour,
in the
78
roadway,
miles an
because
hour.
that's where Caltrans or CHP, when they respond to debris in the roadway, they push everything to the center divider or to the far right-hand shoulder, and then Caltrans comes and sweeps everything up once a week to remove all of that debris. So maybe this roadway was freshly swept today or what, but I just feel like as much as we've been seeing out of lanes with this pursuit, kind of amazed that the suspect hasn't hit something significant yet at this point.
And we're talking about, we suspect that this is a Mercedes of some kind, just the kind of vehicle they're driving. Sir, they have good tires. We know that as far as those vehicles are concerned. But, you wonder about gas situation where they started in the Sylmar area, and now they're in Fontana. That's interesting. There's another incident that's going on right now in Fontana. So law enforcement are out and about. And there they are. They're
we were
still
actually
hitting that shoulder. Oh, go ahead, Desmond.
We were actually on our way to that incident. I know Mike would have been talking about that, and then we actually got word of this going on, and were able to be the first to intercept this pursuit in the La Cañada Flay Ridge area. Now we're basically going out that way. We're past where we were originally being dispatched to. So just kind of interesting. You just never know where these pursuits are going to take you as we make our way now well into the Inland Empire. Is this suspect thinking about going to Big Bear? That's certainly, one of the roads that connects her off the 210, Highway 330, or Highway 18. If they wanted to do something like that, or are they just going to take this all the way in to the end where it bends around south to Interstate 10 in Redlands and continue? Maybe they're headed towards Arizona. Maybe that's what they're thinking. I mean, let's be real here. Just because they cross state lines doesn't mean CHP is going to say, "Oh gosh darn it, you got away this time." They're going to let their fellows know on the other side of the border there, and they're probably going to do what they have. And Arizona, by the way, as you may have seen on social media, they have some pretty interesting pursuit techniques. They have this claw-like thing that can come out and grab the back of a bumper or a tire and completely immobilize a vehicle. So the suspect better not hope that they're headed for Arizona.
You know what, guys? We never talked about that. Is there anything in the works to get something like that here?
There are a couple of agencies that have it, as Des was mentioning. Some of the Arizona agencies have it. I don't know why it really hasn't caught on over here. I don't know if there's some safety concerns with it. Obviously, here in California, we're a little bit more careful with those kinds of things. So I don't know if there's
some of them
maybe it's harder to do in here. But
now,
as Des mentioned,
weaving in and
it
out
kind
of
of
lanes,
just totally
still at
immobilizes the vehicle. It
98
shoots
to
from
100
the
miles
front
an
of the
hour
patrol
at this
car,
point.
wraps around the tires, and just kind of
Now
slows it down. So we don't have any of those
here. He's at about 95 miles an hour.
And they haven't showed any signs of really slowing down.
They haven't shown any signs of slowing down.
Standstill, but they're still going
disregarding traffic laws.
High speeds right now.
And this old
still in the
speed limit.
area. Still in the what?
It's still on the shoulder too.
Yeah,
still
they love
not even
that
in
left
the lane.
shoulder.
Yeah.
Still on the left shoulder.
Okay, well, we've been on this for. Go ahead, Desmond.
No, I was just going to say, you see CHP, they've been kind of reluctant to follow them into the shoulder or the center divider.
No,
they
center
have
divider.
to, all of a sudden here, speed's
Picking up
really
speed.
Getting high.
Speeds
now
are getting
back
high.
up over 100 miles an hour, which is
over 100 miles an hour. They've been following this chase
cruise
for a
control
long
around
time.
85, just got up to triple digits.
That cruise control was at about 105 miles an hour.
Not going into the center
It will
divider.
start
Of course,
to
they have their
begin to
license sirens
start
on,
an
so they can
error
kind
or
of get people out of
malfunction.
the way. So they don't need to get in the center divider and risk,
They don't need to
themselves
get
getting
into
a
the
flat
center
tire
divider
on this one.
I was going to say they know the roads better than most people, so they've got
We
the right
got
idea.
out of
But
that
again,
congested traffic now.
traffic is pretty
Speeding up
light
at
right
about-
now. Does this give you an
Let me look at that speed,
idea of
96
them
miles
trying
an
to do
hour.
something?
I was just going to ask Des that. Des, do you see anybody running a brake behind him? The freeway seems really empty.
The freeway really seems to be empty
It
at
is
this
really
point.
empty. I do not. Well, they're probably going to be one of these officers back there. Oh, look at that. Oh, there was going to be another spike strip attempt there.
There was going to be a spike strip attempt.
I was
Now
kind
he
of wiped
avoids
out
it.
there, but right there. They were in the center divider again, but unfortunately this time the suspect was on the right side of the freeway. Oh, okay,
That driver is going to get onto the freeway. He's transitioning to another freeway. He could take the left or the right.
The 215. So looks like
He's
we're going to be heading southbound on the 215
Riverside area. He's going to transition
and the Riverside interchange.
He's going to start transitioning to the 215 freeway
at about
towards the Riverside area. He's transitioning now to another freeway.
We'll see what else is.
We're going to see another spike strip attempt. You know what? Perhaps instead they could do a pit maneuver when the suspects get off the freeway.
We kind of figured something could be going on. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Des, I don't know, if we get tight on the car, CHP is saying something may have broken on the vehicle, and they're seeing sparks come out from underneath of it. I don't know.
Sparks
you mentioned
come out underneath of it. I don't know. We don't know.
Shoulder there, so maybe he picked up on something. But those
that
units
could
were
go
saying
onto high speeds now.
Sorry, just looking at the traffic. Units seeing that there was some sort of spark coming from under the vehicle.
But we know that they didn't
see any sparks on this side,
and we know they didn't. That the spike
tire seems to be okay.
Yeah, they said on the radio spike was unsuccessful.
So it's not that.
So it's not that. Yeah. So
also it's not that. They've been following that pursuit now
running out of gas or just
for about. They've been following that vehicle for about 20 minutes now since the police started this chase. It started
well, we're still on the 215
as a burglary pursuit. Now he's transitioning and picking up speed.
Southbound 215.
Yep, here we go.
He gets off to the southbound 215
Just
freeway.
for any of these,
This has been going on for about
I don't see
a long time now.
at least not on this side
been going on for about 25 to 30 minutes now.
The driver's side at some point.
Now he's turning left, getting off the freeway.
First time in this pursuit.
First time in the pursuit.
Now it's going to get interesting.
Baseline Road. Yeah, and a wrong side of the road, and just, going back northbound. So,
now going to turn left now. He's turning left. Back onto northbound 215 freeway.
I don't see any sparks there either. Maybe
No
there was
sparks
something momentarily stuck
What
underneath
is wrong?
the vehicle.
Yeah, he got off the
back onto the
215 freeway and got on the
215
freeway just a few moments ago.
Or whatever their plan was there. They scuttled that on the southbound 215 as we now make our way back northbound. We got to get around some of these flyover connectors here.
We got to get around some of these flyover connectors.
But all right, now are they just going to go back westbound
now
210, or will
picking up
they
speed.
hit the eastbound 210 again? We'll see here momentarily.
All right. Well, that was the first interesting move that they've made in quite some time since we've been watching this, but only to come up and exit and get right back on the freeway and go the opposite direction. So then it makes you wonder exactly what kind of plan, if they have any.
Yeah, and we're northbound 215. The other option is he stays north and heads to Vegas.
That's what I was going to say. That's
he almost
happened here.
Cuts,
what was that, Desmond?
He just cut off that big rig truck. Wow, that is very dangerous.
Yeah, Des is having some IFB issues here.
Okay,
so
they're back up. They're on surface street.
He's turning left. He's turning left onto a surface street.
Right, and CHP had talked about some
He's at about 50 miles an hour. They could try a pit maneuver or a spike strip.
This is the first time, aside from that little
I think they suggest
and this is the first time we're on surface
they should start doing a pit maneuver when the vehicle slows down.
He was trying to avoid something. And I don't know if
he
it
was
was
avoiding
traffic, but I
something.
bet it was another spike strip.
That was another spike strip.
Could you tell that from your vantage point, Desmond? Was there another spike strip
that
he was trying
driver
to avoid it?
Been driving very erratically for the last
I'm sorry,
5 or 10 minutes or so.
Difficulty
You
there.
see the driver
now
speeding up to about 70 miles an hour.
Of surface streets on this one, kind of paralleling the 215
freeway. They were paralleling.
Gone past, definitely an option for this suspect if they want to take this
they were
towards
paralleling that
the high
210
desert.
freeway and the 215 freeway.
Underneath the 210 freeway.
And it was the interstate when he was on it. He's picking up speed now.
CHP on this
CHP is on that vehicle. They're going to stay right on
now that we're on some surface streets.
Vehicle. And now they're going to, they could do an opportunity to do pit maneuver. Now he's turning right.
Now to Jeff Vaughn and Susie Suh, who are going to pick up our coverage.
Now they're going to do a pit maneuver. Watch. Okay. Oh, boy. It ended now.
All right. We've been waiting for this all day. Now they're going to pin them in, it looks like.
They've been waiting for this all day now.
Oh, there they go. Maybe they're going to give
to do a pit maneuver.
There it is.
There it is.
That was all it took was a pit maneuver there.
Now they're gonna
no
start
CHP
cooperating
with the spike strip. Then they came out there with the pit maneuver, as I was suspecting there. Once we got off of surface streets,
They were suspecting once they got off the surface street. Let's listen now. They have their guns drawn.
Even if it does, a little bit of incidental damage to their vehicle. It looks like that did on that one.
Damage
but, it's
bumper.
Be
They
worth
got
it to bring this one to
drawn.
an end here. The suspect immediately
got their weapons and guns
and surrendering. We can see the passenger, and we'll see how many people
their
are
items drawn.
in the
Now he's throwing. I never seen any like this before. Maybe he's gonna put his hands up. He's gonna start surrendering. He's gonna surrender. He's gonna give up. He's gonna cooperate. Now he'll start cooperating. So now he has to face away from those. He has to face away from those officers now.
Those are all those, I believe,
and there's another two more suspects, and they're gonna tow that vehicle away. We don't know that it's a stolen vehicle or that vehicle belongs to.
Violent-looking scene, though, when you got all those officers.
It was about 3 seconds ago, or maybe 3 to 5 seconds ago. Before they started doing a pit maneuver.
With LAPD undercover.
It's undercover cops.
And then LAPD and marked vehicles picked it up, and then they finally called on CHP once it got on the freeway.
Now he's being put on handcuffs.
Help them out, and
now they got to take him to the police car.
That passenger Des was talking about in the tank top. Yeah, in the front seat there. So I can't
see till they get out. Oh, now I can make it out.
And then probably one more in the back if they were saying 3 people in the car.
California license plates.
But it stopped with a pit maneuver.
It looks like they have their hands up as well.
After what? 2 spike strip attempts that we saw. 2 or 3, right?
2, yeah. Two attempts, and
California
then they were
license
talking about
plates
a third
on
one.
that
And,
front and back.
I wonder if that's why, we saw that swerve and all of a sudden he got off the freeway. I wonder if they saw the other spike up ahead and made that last-ditch effort to get around it.
Well, their mistake, they got off the freeway. Yeah. They got onto surface streets.
Oh, there's so you got somebody coming over the driver's seat here.
Yep.
Now let's listen.
Right, so we know for sure at least 3 people in the vehicle. Oh,
that's not the one that was in a tank top.
Little difficulty there.
Little difficulty.
Got his hands up though.
But they're going to want him to come to them.
Yeah, you can see the officer there motioning for him to back up. So hands up, probably turn around and slowly walk back towards them.
Interesting that they made them climb over the driver's seat and not get out one of the passenger doors. I've only seen that one other time, and I don't know if they just don't want people moving around out the same door, but that was kind of interesting too, that they had him climb over.
Now he's putting his hands over his head.
On the passenger side.
They're going to put handcuffs. One more.
Yeah, the front passenger seat. That was the rear passenger, and there's still one more on the front passenger.
Inside of that car. Inside of that car.
Given the call-outs here for them to motion, now we'll see if they're going to make them come out at the driver's side as well. I'm wondering maybe just because the windows were so tinted, they didn't want to have that kind of split second of not being able to see the suspect as they were coming out the rear door there open with the tinted windows. Maybe that's why, because they wanted to be able to see him through the windshield the entire time. So it may be instructing this person to come out through the driver's side as well. And indeed, it does look like a female passenger.
Yeah, she's climbing over the...
Looks like a female passenger
seat.
Climbing out of the car.
And there it is. There's the woman that
has her hands up.
Yep. And she was, pretty calm. Every view that we had,
she's cooperating
from the front. They were sitting there almost like with their hands in their lap. We never saw any fidgeting or crazy movements or anything erratic or anything like that coming from the driver or the passenger on this one. They were just kind of sitting there, stone-faced, and now being taken into custody. Again, they believe that there were only 3 in the vehicle, so at this point, probably just going to do one more call out, and if they get no response, they'll walk up, clear the vehicle, and we should see 4 fingers for code 4, all clear.
So real quick, I just noticed on the back of the plainclothes there, bulletproof vest there, it's LA Impact. LA Impact is that regional crime suppression task force that operates with a bunch of different agencies. LAPD, Pasadena PD, the Sheriff's Office. They've got a ton of different agencies, and they're kind of tasked as their clearing vehicle now with kind of getting these
Canine
bigger
dog
groups
as well.
and things like that. They're looking for the higher end suspects, if you will, and LA Impact is the one that's involved in this.
Weapons got drawn.
And they've got the canine.
The dog is sniffing
In the vehicle. I mean, they've made pretty quick work. Let's say they followed this. It took a while to get to them, but they got them off the freeway, apprehended them. And again, I just have to bring up, I know this was a residential burglary, but I think, law enforcement has been on pretty high alert in the past couple of days anyway, considering
started a half an hour ago. The burglary pursuit started.
But still, burglaries nonetheless. The one at Irvine was not
nonetheless.
big.
It started about 45 to 50 minutes ago in the area all the way back where it started, where it all came, where it all started.
So we're going to end our pursuit coverage and turn you back to regular programming, and we'll have more on KCAL News at 8 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
How to open
Thanks for
your
watching.
car door while submerged underwater.
We'll leave you with that video when it's
flaw
popped up.
in all recent automobiles
When
makes it
it's
virtually
the end.
impossible to escape the car after crashing.
210, which he could do, then he knows he's in for some more traffic, and something tells me that this guy does not want to keep fighting that traffic that he's been fighting for the better part of the last hour or so. That's just a guess, but obviously he may have a destination in mind, and that might be taking priority. In any event, he's going northbound now on the 215 freeway towards the Cajon Pass. We'll see. A wild, look at them, cutting off that Mack truck. A wild swerve in front of that 18-wheeler. A great move if you're trying to lose those officers, but there's plenty behind them to make up for that last-minute move. Another wild left-hand turn through that, fortunately, green light. And now this pursuit, again, back on surface streets, taking on a more dangerous profile here. And now we can expect a possible pit maneuver here if they see an opportunity. One has to believe that pit maneuver has been authorized by now.
You would think, and it almost looked like that pursuing officer thought about it and just kind of realized there were too many cars around. But once you see a vehicle like this being pursued take wild movements like that, you can feel the desperation and the danger ratchet up pretty quickly and pretty noticeably. And it seemed like that officer knew what was going on, realized what was happening here, and thought about it, but then just didn't have the situational go-ahead to be able to pull that off. And now we are on Highland Avenue, back on side streets. You know, we said early on here that it was an uneventful pursuit, and that's what you want to see from law enforcement's perspective. Blowing through a red light, it just turned green, but you see people there. I don't know if that was a baby stroller or a shopping cart, but you see people at intersections, and you have a car going this fast, Chris, you start talking about some real dangerous possibilities.
You've got innocent motorists left and right, pedestrians. What was an uneventful pursuit may very quickly become very eventful here. Here comes the pit right along the right fender there, and spinning that Mercedes out of control, doing a full 180 and disabling that vehicle for now. We'll see if there's anything left in the tank there. He has come to a complete stop. He is now facing southbound, face to face with these three CHP units. Head on now with his hands and arms in the air, driver getting out of the vehicle. It is over for him. He understands that that vehicle wasn't going anywhere, and his time is up. The driver calmly giving up here, proned out, assuming the position right there in front of those officers, appears to be obeying the commands. But remember, there are two other suspects that we are aware of inside that vehicle. So a textbook pit maneuver to finish this guy off and end this pursuit exactly the way they train at the academy. A perfect 180 face-to-face with those officers. Immediately they all jumped out, and the suspect fortunately gave up as they now attempt to detain the driver of that Mercedes-Benz. Again, we don't know if that Mercedes belongs to this guy or perhaps if it was indeed a stolen vehicle. We only know that the original one was burglary. These are burglary suspects as CHP and it appears San Bernardino Sheriff now involved in this pursuit as they appear to be taking over this arrest here. It looks like a number of different agencies, including, does that say ATF? I'm not sure. What does that vest say?
It says police.
It's just police. I'm sorry. I thought I saw. Yeah, I thought I saw something else.
I think it says Laverne.
it could be a number of different agencies, including Laverne, which is not too far away. Also, you've got Fontana and San Bernardino. In any event, you can see them still very cautiously pointing their weapons at that vehicle.
Here's your charger, and we'll plug it in as soon as we get there.